Hey friends, it's me, Jennifer Jayde. I wanted to pop on here tonight. I'm getting that familiar tap on the shoulder that there's a message coming through to share with you. And that is for anyone, you could be man or woman, who is experiencing some spiritual growth, or you're really diving into some personal development. And maybe you're with someone right now. It could be husband, partner, spouse who maybe doesn't really understand the journey that you're on. Maybe they think it's silly. Maybe they don't think it's silly, but they just don't really get it. So it's something that you can't really share together. And, you know, for a while that's fine. But if you're coming to a point where it feels a little bit frustrating or a little disheartening, like, am I going to outgrow my partner? You know, are we still the right fit for one another? If you've ever been in that space, then this video is for you. So I hope you'll stick around. In the meantime, hi Kirsten, yay, thanks so much for being here and saying hi. Thanks to everyone joining. Oh, there's a bunch of us, yay, hi Holly, yay, I'm happy you enjoy this topic or you're into it, because I'm like, oh my gosh, we need to talk about this. So if you will give me just a moment, I want to make sure that this video is getting seen by as many people as possible. So I'm going to go ahead and share this. In the meantime, I'd love for you to say hi. I'd love to hear where you're watching from. What city are you watching from? Let me know in the comments. If you think this is a topic that might serve your friends and family or the women in your life, please do share it onto your feed as well, just by hitting the share button. I'm going to do it real quick right now, and then we're going to dive right in. I have 3 big tips for you that I'm going to dive into right away. So okay, let's do it. So for everyone joining, thank you for being here and thank you for saying hi. We've got people popping on right away. Who this video is for, I don't want you to linger and hang around for 10, 15, 20 minutes only to realize this video has nothing to do with what you thought it did or what's happening in your life. So let's just be sure you're in the right place. This is for the woman or man who is diving into some personal growth, whether you're just kind of tiptoeing in right now or you're fully immersed and you're feeling like you're on this personal growth journey, this spiritual development, you're really, you know, digging into who you are and what you want out of life, and if you're happy and how you can become happier, and learning some truths about yourself and maybe overcoming some old mindset weeds you once had. Anyways, you're doing this work on yourself. And it feels good and you love, you know, where this is going, but sometimes you notice that your partner is just not on the same path. So they're not really that interested in personal development. They think spiritual growth is really woo-woo and weird and for like cuckoo birds. So there might be a part of you that's like, oh, who cares? Like, I do my own thing. If I want to do spiritual growth or personal development, that's cool. It doesn't matter if my spouse does that or my boyfriend or my girlfriend does that or not. You might get to a point where you wish you could share more about this journey with the person, even if they're not, you know, consciously doing it as well. But you kind of wish, oh, like, I wish I could talk to him or her more about this. And I feel like I'm keeping it to myself and I feel a little bit isolated and lonely at times. Or you might be at a place where you're like, man, I just wish my partner would really dive into this spiritual growth or personal growth stuff, because he or she could really benefit from it right now. If only they have been learning the stuff that I'd been learning, they wouldn't be, you know, so miserable or unhappy with this, or that this wouldn't easily aggravate them, or maybe they'd have more patience with the kids, or, you know, whatever it is. So wherever you're at on that spectrum, if you have been, you know, starting or even fully diving into your personal or spiritual growth, and you're with someone who has not been, this video is for you. So the first thing that I want to share, again, you might be totally cool that your partner is not diving into the same things that you're doing, not reading the same books, not listening to the same podcasts. But you know, if there's ever an inkling in you that you're a little bit worried that you might outgrow your partner, or that they may not understand you, or you feel like you can't fully speak your truth with them because maybe they're judging you, or they think you're weird, or they can't understand what you're talking about because they haven't been learning the same things too, then please stick around. I have had the fortune, the luck, the blessing of working with hundreds of women now over the past couple of years, whether that's through my private coaching or my online programs or the retreats that I've been a guest at, or I'm about to host my own in San Diego. And one thing that has continually popped up, and even in my own life, and I'll share my own personal stories with you as well, is oftentimes there's a partner who just doesn't really get it. And at some point or another, some doubt starts to get raised that maybe you are outgrowing your partner, or they don't understand you anymore, or maybe you're better off with someone else who is also evolving spiritually on purpose. You know, you can start to kind of question some things. And I really wish that when I was diving into this journey, that someone would have had this conversation with me. So let's get started. If you're in the right place, stick around. I hope you'll hang out. Hi, Laura. Oh, thank you so much for being here. Thanks so much for saying hi, you guys. I really appreciate you being here live and taking the time. You could be watching anything else right now and you're here with me, so I appreciate that. Hi, Laura. Hi, Allison. Hi, Chelsea. Yay. Thanks, ladies. And this is for guys too. So, you know, if you're a guy, please say hi. Let me know if there's any men interested in this message as well. Okay. The first thing that pops into my head to share is when I was at the Hay House event in Vancouver in June 2012. And I mean, for anyone who knows Wayne Dyer or recognizes the name, that was the one and only time I got to see him live in person, was at this Hay House event in June 2012 in Vancouver. And one of the people that was there was I'm going to say it was Marianne Williamson. I hope I'm not confusing her with someone else, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say it was Marianne Williamson. If Trisha Gray is watching, she can tell me if that's accurate or not. Anyway, it was a Q&A section, and there was a big audience, a couple hundred people, and this woman raised her hand. And she said, you know what, I love my husband, but I'm just so fed up because he's not doing any spiritual growth. And I'm outgrowing him, and we don't see eye to eye on things, and I'm feeling really frustrated, and I'm just wondering, you know, am I meant to move on from this relationship? And Marianne Williamson, she's so awesome. She's just so black and white. And she said, your judgment of him is not spiritual at all. And, you know, that wasn't her quote, but it was like, boom, like you are judging his journey. And he might not be unfolding it in the way that you are. He might not be reading the books and listening to the podcasts and, you know, quoting Wayne Dyer and whoever. I love Wayne Dyer, that's why I mention him, all over his Facebook and Instagram. But that doesn't mean that he's not on a spiritual journey. He is. We all are, or she is. I'm going to say he because it's easier for me, but know that this is for anyone in a relationship where one person is really actively pursuing spiritual inner growth and one person maybe is not. So the first thing to remember is we are all spiritual beings having a temporary human experience. And just because you are really going out of your way to consciously evolve and grow as much as you can, your partner is also on a journey as well, whether they are consciously aware of it or not. So this whole life, they are learning their own lessons. They are having their own spiritual journey. They are going through, you know, what it's like to get their first job or be rejected by a person or have to put themselves out on a limb or be vulnerable with their kids or, you know, start their own businesses. You know, these things take personal growth and development, and they might not call what they're doing relying on the universe or praying to God, or they might not use the same lingo and terminology. They may not even think of it the same way you do, but they are on a spiritual journey, and it is not up to you or I to judge someone else's journey and how it unfolds for them. So the first tip the very first thing that came to mind to share with you is to not judge someone else's journey, and that includes your significant other. So they might totally think that you talking about the universe is silly and woo-woo and too out there. They might not believe in energy or what have you, but that doesn't mean that they are not growing and evolving in their own way. So allow them to have their own journey and do not stand in a place of judgment. Allow it to unfold for them in the way that it's meant to for them. Which brings me to tip number 2. Release responsibility for your partner's journey. It is not your job to fix anyone, and that includes your partner, that includes your spouse, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, that includes actually anyone, your parents, your siblings, your best friend. You were not put on this earth to run around trying to save everybody and trying to fix people. So even if you see your significant other going through a challenge in their life, and maybe they're not facing it or seeing it in a way that you would because you have done a bit more intentional personal growth, spiritual growth, that's okay. If they come to you and they ask for a shoulder to lean on or someone to listen to them, you know, lend a kind ear, if they're open to, you know, you giving them maybe some different perspectives, great. But it's not your job to fix anyone, to heal other people, to save other people. It's your job to be an example, to share love, to share light, and to stand in a place of non-judgment and to love unconditionally. So release responsibility for your partner's journey. Allow them to come to you if they do want support or guidance. But do not try to interfere. Do not try to run in and fix them and save them. Don't come in there waving your fingers with, well, if only you were listening to Wayne Dyer, if only you were on the spiritual journey, this wouldn't be happening to you. You know, that's coming from another place of judgment. So number 1 was to stop judging your partner's spiritual experience on this planet, whether they choose to call it spiritual or not. And number 2 is release responsibility for everyone else's journey. Oftentimes when I'm talking to my clients, I know this example has come up a few times and I'm feeling called to share it right now. And, oh, yay, Kirsten says she loves this. Megan says she's given me the hands. Thank you, Megan. Think about, even if you're not a parent, I'm not a parent, but I still use this as an example. Think about if you had, you know, a 1-year-old that was getting around the time of learning how to walk. And this toddler, this 1-year-old, is taking a couple steps and then falling flat on its butt. And then getting up and taking a couple steps and falling flat on its butt. And you as a parent is like, oh gosh, like, doesn't that hurt my baby's tailbone? Like, a diaper's not that much padding. And, you know, what you could do is decide that you never want to let your baby fall down again. You love this baby so much, you don't want it to experience any pain. So you know what, you're not going to let it fall down anymore. You're just going to take your baby's hands and you're going to walk it around wherever it wants to go. You're going to walk it around the house, walk it around, you know, the sidewalks and the streets, and you just never let go so that they never fall and they never hurt themselves. Well, guess what? Who knows what I'm going to say next? Let me know if you know what I'm going to say next. If you never let your baby fall, then what? Aw, you guys being shy? The baby won't learn. Thank you, Holly. if you never let go of your baby's hands because you never want the baby to fall on its butt again, and you always carry its hands everywhere it goes so it'll never fall, never fall, never fall, guess what? That baby is never going to learn how to walk. And that's what happens when we are trying to interject in other people's spiritual journeys, on their path, in the experiences that they're having in their life. It is not your job to run around and try and hold everybody's hands so that they never experience pain or they never experience challenge in their life. It is not your job. It is your job to be the supporter, the giver of love and encouragement and guidance, but do not try to interject and do everything for them and to save them, because really you're hindering their growth. You're hindering their growth. I know you're trying to do the opposite, but you're hindering their growth, because there's no greater teacher than experience. Your words, you're trying to interject, you're trying to preach. Believe me, I've been a preacher to my loved ones because I thought I was helping them. But there's no greater teacher than experience. So allow them to have the experience and be the bystander who gives support, gives love, coming from a non-judgmental place, but allow them to learn, because that is going to be how they grow, which is what you want for them, right? Okay, so number 3, I'm moving through these pretty fast. So let me know, you guys, is this resonating with you? Is this helping you? Let me know in the comments, because you know, I only want to do these things if they're serving you, these Facebook Lives. So let me know if you're resonating, if it's serving you in any way. Have you had any experiences like this? Let me know in the comments. I'll do a quick scan over them right now. If you have any questions, you know, if I'm missing something and I haven't answered a question for you, feel free to let me know in the comments. Holly, you're hilarious. Yay, thank you, Chelsea. That's right, Megan, they don't learn. Yay! Oh, you know what? I think there was a delay on the comments because now I'm seeing Leah answered, Megan answered. Cool. Ah, that's awesome. Laura, wrap them in foam. That's awesome. Okay, cool. So, you know, I want to share something with you before I jump into the third and final tip that I wanted to give. I want to share with you my personal experience with this, because I think sometimes that helps things resonate, and I want you to know that everything I'm sharing is not something that I just heard somewhere else and I'm just regurgitating it. I'm telling you from experience, from my personal life, and also from working with a lot of women now. That's where these come from. So these aren't just, you know, some wishy-washy things I found on YouTube. This is literally coming from my own life's experience and the commonalities that I've witnessed in, you know, hundreds of women at this point. So a personal story that I have is when I was really diving into this stuff, and I mean, I've kind of always been interested in personal growth. Let me know in the comments if it's been kind of a thing that you've been intrigued in for a long time. I remember my mom handing me a book when I was 16 years old. It was called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teenagers, and I freaking loved it. It was, you know, you could fill in the blanks. It asked you really thought-provoking questions. And this is before, you know, the internet was huge, and I mean, there was internet, I'm not that old, but there wasn't a whole lot of stuff about personal growth and things like that. So this book was amazing. I loved it. I loved the questions it was asking me. I loved the clarity I was getting. And from then on, I kind of got hooked. I started reading more and more of these books, and I started watching videos, and then YouTube, and now podcasts, and going to many, many events. It's actually what got me into network marketing. I spent a year full blast in network marketing. And what I loved, I think, the most about network marketing was, well, the connecting with like-minded people who really wanted to live their best lives and help other people live their best lives. But the personal growth, the personal development that was included was just top-notch. I was flying all over the place, going to conferences, learning from top leaders, watching top speakers. I loved it. I almost got, you know, I pretty much was obsessed. But when I was really in the deep end with this stuff has been over the last, I would say, since 2015. In 2014, when I had left my 9-to-5 in finance, I had started my childhood dream business of wedding photography. I loved it. It was awesome. I thrived doing that, traveling the world, taking photos. I couldn't believe this was my life. And then I started to fall out of love with that life. And I kind of got borderline depressed at that point because I didn't know what was next for me. And I didn't know why this life wasn't good enough for me. And I thought I was a bad person. And I thought I just needed to be more grateful and you know, all of these things. So I got really sad around, you know, the end of 2014. And so it was the beginning of 2015 that I started working with my first life coach, and holy, the 6 months that I spent with my first coach was the equivalent to all of the personal growth books and conferences and workshops and video. Like, it was above and beyond all of the things I had done since I was 16 years old in just the 6 months that we would spend 1 hour a week conversing. So I was getting into some deep stuff with my coach, and I was unfolding some things, and I was noticing some old patterns that really weren't serving me anymore. I was noticing some things in different relationships with my family that was unhealthy that I didn't realize was happening, and I was like, holy, like there's a whole deeper level to this stuff that I didn't even know existed, because you can't really find it in books and podcasts and, you know, online general things. And anyway, as I was digging up all these weeds and getting rid of them, I started getting more and more and more in tune with my spiritual side. And I started getting more and more and more intuitive, actually. And I started really, I guess blossoming is kind of the word that comes to mind. And this was really great. It started happening really fast. The momentum started kind of opening up really fast. And it felt really good. But not too long after, I found myself hiding the spiritual part of me from my partner, because that wasn't what I was like when we first started dating. It wasn't what I was like when we got married. Well, maybe it was, but I didn't talk about it so much. And as I opened up to it more and more and more and more, I wanted to share more and more of that with him, but I didn't feel safe in doing so. I had made it up in my own mind that, you know, he would just think I was crazy and he wouldn't want to be married to me anymore because I'm Looney Tunes, and I just made up this whole, like, ego fear, just made up this whole story in my head. So I might share a little tidbit here and there, but kind of in a jokey voice, and not really fully express and communicate what I was experiencing with, you know, the most important person in my life, the closest person to me that I live with every single day. So not long after that, I actually started to feel disconnected. I started to feel disconnected from my spouse. I started to feel disconnected from my friends, because it was the same thing. I wasn't really fully opening up with them either. And I started to feel like I didn't belong. And yeah, so all of this spiritual growth was great, but I also kind of started to feel like I was alienating myself, and I didn't know who I could fully open up to anymore, and who I could really speak my full truth with. And I felt alone. I felt alone. And the sad part is that no one was actually judging me, and no one was actually making me feel bad about the experience I was having. I was just so deep inside my own head with fear and worry of what other people might think. Let me know in the comments if you have ever brushed up against a fear of what other people might think, and if that has ever held you back in some way. I know it has held me back more than I care to admit. It held me back when I wanted to leave my 9-to-5 and pursue photography. I was super worried about what, especially my in-laws, were going to think. My fellow peers and colleagues that worked in mortgages and real estate, yeah, I was really, honestly, really worried about that, more so than I think I even realized at the time. It was very deep rooted. Anyways, so that good old ego fear really likes to sneak up on me sometimes. Anyway, it got to the point where I started wondering, like, am I supposed to stay in this marriage? Like, I'm feeling disconnected. I can't speak my full truth with this person. You know, maybe I'm supposed to just continue this journey on my own. Like, I really didn't know. I was so confused and very sad, and didn't know who to talk to about it. So that made it even worse. So anyways, oh, hey, Kirsten, thank you for telling me that. I appreciate that. She says, this is literally my life right now. It's like you're walking around in my head. What will they think? Yeah, Megan, yeah, totally. So this is why I wanted to share this, because I feel like it really needs to be talked about. I think, you know, there's a lot of people who, they only want to talk about the good parts of spiritual growth or being an entrepreneur or pursuing your dreams. And sometimes we forget to address sometimes the shadow parts that can come with it. And, you know, I love to focus on the positive as well. So most of my posts and things are the positives, because that's what I choose to focus on. But I know that sometimes we can feel really alone and really isolated. And I just wanted to share this because I want you to know you're not alone and you don't have to be isolated. So if you're not already in my Facebook group, Jennifer Jayde Savvy Soul Sisters, please join it. If you really want to work closely together, then you can always reach out and ask me, you know, what some options are, and we can always talk about that together. Anyways, yeah, so skipping ahead, I got to this point where I wondered if I should even be in this relationship anymore. And that was tough. That was tough. And it was the same time that I was growing my business really fast. So I think what I was doing was I was distracting myself with my business. And I was using my business to kind of try and get any kind of happiness out of, because I had been unknowingly shutting myself down from everyone else around me. And so I thought, okay, well, my clients get me and my audience gets me, and I'll just get my connection from them, and this is where I'll get my happiness from, is from serving more and more people. But I mean, you can imagine that car doesn't run very far, right? You know, you run out of gas pretty quick. And I had to have some really deep and honest conversations with my partner, which is tip number 3, deep, honest communication. That will make or break your relationship, whether you're married or, you know, dating someone. If you are on this path of spiritual growth and personal development, you hiding that from them because you fear that they're going to judge you or not understand you is going to hurt your relationship, because you are going to feel like, number one, your ego fear mind is going to convince you that it's not safe to be yourself with this person. And as long as you buy into that and you keep your truth quiet and you keep it to yourself, you will believe that this person judges you, and it's not safe to be yourself around them. It's not safe to speak your truth around them, and eventually you will feel alienated and alone and disconnected from this person, and you will wonder if you're still meant to be with them. But if you were to have an open, honest conversation with them, and I'm talking about even if they've made jokes, because my partner had made jokes about spiritual growth or the universe this or energy that, or, you know, made fun of other people that were super spiritual, just like little making jokes or whatever. So maybe you feel nervous to have open communication with your partner, but I'm telling you, your partner loves you. Right? Your partner loves you and cares about you and wants you to be happy. And if you were to have an honest conversation and just say, hey, like, you know, I feel like I really want to share with you more about what I've been learning. and you know, the stuff that I've been experiencing, like, would that be okay? Like, would you be open to that? I just feel like I want to be able to talk to you about these things. And you know, you could say, I know that maybe it's not really your thing, you're not really so much into, you know, believing this stuff, but you know, if you just be willing to listen sometime or hear me out, I just feel like I'd feel way more connected if I could at least share some of the stuff that I'm learning with you. And it goes both ways, right? Like, your husband might be really into sports. He might be really into, you know, talking about his job a lot, or coming home from a stressful work day and wanting to download that with you, and you listen, right? Like, you don't really maybe get what he does as for his job, or maybe you don't really get what he's so stressed out about, or maybe you're not really that into sports, or you're not really that into his hobby, but you know, you're supportive and you listen, and you offer some feedback, or at least, you know, just listen with an open heart. And you know, it's absolutely fair for you to expect that and ask for that in return when it comes to you and what you're interested in and what you're passionate about and what you're learning about and what you're discovering about yourself. So they don't need to understand it in order to be supportive. They don't need to start becoming woo-woo and spiritual and diving into Tony Robbins and all these things in order to be married to you or be a good partner to you. They just need to be supportive. They don't have to understand, but they can be supportive. And if you want to have that feeling of connectedness, of feeling safe to be your true self, of having those conversations, of really feeling free to explore who you are and keep evolving without any shame, without any guilt, without any worry that it's going to separate you more and more and more from your partner, then you absolutely have to have open communication with that person. Now, I do feel called to share that your spouse doesn't have to be the person that you share all of your spiritual or personal development stuff with, right? Like, you probably do want to find a friend or a tribe of people who this is their passion too, because then you can really get into it, right? Like, you can get into the nitty gritty, and you can bounce ideas back and forth off each other, and you can help each other grow and see different perspectives and things like this. Whereas with a partner who's maybe not so much into this yet, maybe, it'll be more of you kind of just sharing and them listening, but and that's great, so you have that sense of connection. But you probably do want to find at least one friend, hopefully a couple or a few, a tribe. Again, you're welcome to join my Savvy Soul Sister Facebook group, where you can really just speak like out there shit. Like, I mean, if you believe in you know, angels, if you believe in using crystals, if you believe in, you know, our female bodies following the moon cycle, and you want to talk about that, and shifts in energy in the world, and maybe you want to talk about different dimensions, or ETs, or whatever it is, you know, there's anything goes. And honestly, I'm open to pretty much anything. I don't necessarily believe it all unless it resonates with my soul as truth. But hey, I'm open to hearing about it all. And I don't judge, because honestly, I don't know the truth, and you don't know the truth. No one's going to know really for sure until we pass on to the other side what the truth really is. But you can kind of have a sense in your soul what's truthful for you and what's true for you. So if you're joining us a little bit late, a quick recap is if you have a partner who is not on the spiritual growth path, is not super into personal development, but you are, and maybe you're starting to find that you are pulling away a little bit, or you're kind of concealing the things that you're learning because you're afraid of being judged or being made fun of, or that this person won't understand you, then, you know, I had these 3 tips I really wanted to share. A quick recap is, number 1, stop judging your partner's journey. So they might not call it a spiritual journey, they may not call it personal development, but they are absolutely on a journey of their own. And they absolutely are a soul, a spiritual being having a temporary experience in a human body. And they may not call it that. They may not use that lingo. They may not believe in universe or God or energy or auras or any of this stuff. But it doesn't mean that they're not having a journey. They're not evolving in their own way. They might do it differently. They may not even be consciously aware that they're evolving and growing, but they are. And it is not up to you to stand in judgment of them and their journey. So release judgment of your partner's journey. Number 2 was to release responsibility for their journey. It is not up to you to try and fix them or save them or heal them or help them do the things the way that you would do them or help them see the things in the way that you see them. So if you see them struggling or having a hard time or going through a challenge and you think, oh, if only they knew the law of attraction, this would be going differently, or only if they understood, energy, and this would be going different, and I need to sit them down and tell them, or maybe feel frustrated because they're not learning about these things. So really what would serve both of you is for you to release responsibility for your partner's spiritual journey. So number 1, don't judge, don't stand in judgment. Number 2, release responsibility. It's not your job to save or fix anyone, and this includes your partner. Number 3 is communication. If you want to have a lasting relationship, absolutely, there has to be communication. Now, your partner doesn't have to understand what you're talking about, doesn't have to believe in what you're talking about, doesn't have to believe in the universe, doesn't have to believe in angels, doesn't have to believe in crystals or Reiki or any of that stuff, but can absolutely be a supportive ear and listen to you and listen to what you're passionate about. I mean, you do the same for your partner, I'm sure. You listen to what they're passionate about, or you listen to them venting or whatever it is, and you may not understand, but you're a loving ear, right? And they can be that for you if you allow it. By you not communicating with them, you are alienating yourself from the relationship. You are isolating yourself from the relationship. And eventually, if you are doing that, you will feel disconnected and you will wonder if you're meant to stay in that relationship. But really, if you were to have open communication, that would make all the difference in the world. So you could say, honey, even if you've heard them make fun of spiritual people or say that you do too much personal growth stuff and you need to ease up on that or whatever, even if they've made comments or jokes or made fun of other people that are spiritual or whatever, it still doesn't mean that you don't communicate with them. It means that you have a conversation around it. Like, hey, honey, I know you don't really buy into the spiritual stuff or this woo-woo stuff or this energy and universe stuff, but I want to be able to talk to you about some things that I'm learning about or I'm discovering, and it's cool if you don't get it or if you don't believe in it, but I want to continue feeling connected to you, and that means that sometimes I want to share with you the things that I'm learning, the things that I'm experiencing, the things that I'm going through, the things that I'm excited about, and you don't have to chime in or believe it or anything. I'm just sharing with you because I love you and I want to feel connected to you and stay connected to you. Just the same way that you like to share things with me that maybe I don't understand, but we share that with each other, and I'd love to be able to do that and not feel, and feel safe doing that. So have that open line of communication with your partner, and I'm telling you, it will make all the difference in the world. So I'm going to take a few minutes and just go through a couple of the comments and questions. If something's coming up for you that you like, oh, but Jen, what about this, or what if that, or if anything's coming up that I didn't cover, or maybe you might have missed if you're just joining us a little bit late, feel free to ask me in the comments right now. If you're watching the replay, you are absolutely welcome to ask questions in the comments and just tag me and I will come back and answer them for you. So let me have a quick peek here. Holy cow, how does the time go by? Was that 44 minutes already? Laura's here. Hey, Laura. Holly says, amen. I love that, Holly. Kirsten says, thank you for talking about this. Thank you for being here, Kirsten, and thank you for letting me know and everyone watching know that we're not alone, right? Yeah, Megan, cool. Fred, thank you for being here, Fred. Thank you, Megan. Megan, I've always been interested. I haven't found my niche yet. Something I feel on the horizon. Megan, let me know if you want to chat about that. I'd love to help you find some clarity with that. Laura, I'm not that old. Oh, I was talking about internet not being a huge thing yet when I was 16. That's hilarious. I had a teen book too. Yeah, I had 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teenagers. That was my first one. And then I was hooked. That was my gateway personal development drug. Okay, cool. All right, so I'm not seeing too many questions from the live viewers. Tons of comments, which I appreciate, but not too many questions. So maybe that means I covered everything. Covered it in a good way, hopefully. So anyways, if I've missed anything, feel free to ask. So ladies watching, if you have any women in your life that are on a personal development kick or journey, or they're into spiritual growth and personal development, please share this video with them. If you're not, you can share it on your page. If you're not comfortable sharing this on your page, you could private message it to them, I believe. But honestly, I feel this message could save relationships. I honestly feel that. So please do hit the share button, share this on your page, share this privately if you need to, but make sure the women in your life do see this, because honestly, you can get to the place where you think your relationship's over and really you're just missing 1 or 2 or 3 of these tips here tonight. So please do share this. I appreciate you helping me spread this message. I believe it's very much needed right now. I love you. Thank you for being here. Oh, before I hopped on, I had someone message me about meeting in person. So I do have a live event called The Awakening. It's going to be happening in San Diego at the beginning of June. And it's a small, intimate event so that I can work with each person individually quite a bit. What we're going to be doing is diving into any of those things, those wounds or mindset weeds or fears that are holding you back from really rising into the potential and the life that you want to lead. So if you're not living in your full potential yet, if there's a version of you that you see that you want to be and you haven't been able to step into her yet, let's get to the root of why that is and let's release it, so that you can leave the event a brand new woman that is ready to take the world by storm and do exactly as your soul feels called to do and how you want to show up in the world. So we'll get rid of those weeds and wounds together, and you will rise up into that version of you that you know is calling for you right now. If you'd like details on the Awakening live event, let me know. I will send you the link. Otherwise, please do share this video. I believe this message really needs to be heard right now. I would appreciate you sharing this message. I appreciate you being here, whether you're live or watching the replay, and I will see you next time.